Okay, in this tutorial, I'm going to do a quick ball bounce. And what we're going to end up getting into is squash and stretch. We'll also get into the curves a little bit more and talk about how we can use those to make a more convincing ball bounce. So what I'm going to do is start with a new comp. So a new composition here. And we're going to call it bounce. And I'm going to make it 1,000 by 1,000. And that's fine. Nice, maybe a nice light blue. And we'll say okay there. And that looks great. So let's do 24 frames a second. And instead of 10 seconds long, let's just make it maybe 5 seconds long. 5.0. All right. So now we've got our nice 5 seconds. We've got our square format. Next up, I'm going to create a little ground layer for us to bounce off of. So we can go ahead and do a new layer. Just a solid is great. And pick a nice green color. And let's make it height. Width is 1,000 is fine. And maybe we'll make it 100 pixels high. Okay, and there's that. And then I'm just going to shift arrow down to get that down at the bottom and just line it up right down there. All right. So what's nice about that is now we know that's 100 off the ground. So for 1,000 high, when we're doing our contact bounces, we'll know that that will be a good, that will be only 100 up from the bottom of our 1,000, so 900. So now I'm going to go ahead and import a little AI file. So import files, and I've got this little football, which I've put a link to so you can grab that. Import it, and it's got its transparency on. It's just straight out of Illustrator. I just saved it out at a small size. And now we can grab that and bring it in to our frame as well. So right now we've got these just at one frame, 1 second each. So I'm going to go ahead and select them both, stretch them out to our full 5 seconds so that they'll be there for all of that. Now on our deep green solid, and we're going to call that, let's change the name of that to, hit enter, and we'll call it, enter, and we'll call it ground. And let's go with our football, and let's just go ahead and call it soccer ball. Let's set up our soccer ball so that when it hits the ground, we can do our scale to create our squash and stretch, and it'll be a little easier. So let's move our center point to the bottom here. So I'm going to go ahead, use my pan behind tool, make sure my soccer ball is selected, and just grab this and pull it down so it snaps right there in the center. And then I'll go ahead back to my move tool, and we'll just move this up a little bit off the screen. So we're going to start there. I'm just going to quickly keyframe in our bounces. So we'll start there. We'll roll down our position. And what I'm going to do before I start setting keyframes is I want to right click on position. I want to separate my dimensions. So what that'll do, it means we can just then animate on the Y, which will make it a little easier. Then later, if we wanted to, we could animate the X separately so that we can keep that a little more under control. So you're not always having keyframes for both. You can have your keyframes along the way. If X isn't doing anything, you don't need any keyframes for X. So we'll start there. We'll set our Y position. Now we'll drop it out of the sky. So let's just go forward half of a second maybe. And let's bring down our Y. So we can just do this if we want. So theoretically, 900 should be about right. So let's zoom in. I just scroll wheeled in, and I just want to zoom in. So it's barely touching. So let's see if 899. Nope, 901 maybe. Yeah, 901 will be our magic number. Okay. So what we'll do, that will be our position there. So if we zoom back out, we can see that our Soccer ball is flying out of the sky, so it hits. So what we're going to do, a good rule of thumb to start is if you just go about halfway up. So I'm going to move forward again a half a frame or half a second. And now let's bring this position up, maybe to about halfway. All right, that's good. Back here. Now we could move it back down, but we've got this keyframe. So let's just, I'm going to copy it, Command C, and then Command V with my playhead where I want it. There we go. Now we've got that. So now let's move here, bring it back up to, again, about halfway. So here's where it was. So now let's bring it about halfway down. Cool. We still have that first keyframe copied, so I'm just going to Control V, Command V to put that in. Take our up to 3 seconds. Again, halfway in between, so we were here. Let's bring it down to about here. And you know what's next? A little paste of our first keyframe. Then we can go to the end here and bring it up just a little bit. This is our final little bounce. And one last little paste. Okay, now let's see what we've got here. So I'm going to click off of it. All right, now that's horrible looking, but we've got all of our bounces in. So those are kind of our poses, right? We've got our key poses. So now what we can do is go in and let's adjust this. So we're coming down, we're moving up. All right, so we can start nudging these guys a little bit together. So we could think, all right, so we know this one's going to be closer to that one. We know these two are going to get closer to that one. I'm just setting this up by eye just so it's a little bit of a gradual distance happening. Okay. And again, we'll tweak this more in just a second. But I just want to get these guys together so it's a little bit nicer. All right. All right, that's fine for now. Now we're going to go and head over into our graph editor. So what we want to do is go to our graph editor and just click your Y position. And you want to make sure down here that you're in your choose graph type and options. So we want to do our value graph. And then you can also click on this show transform box when keyframes are selected. So if I grab all of these guys, I'll start up here. What's kind of nice is now we could take this and we could scrub it if we want to and just compress it. So basically it's like doing our option drag, but that's a nice thing. I just undid that for now. Now what I'm going to do is I want to make all of these easy ease keyframes just to start to get us a good beginning. So we could have gone back into our mode here, grab all our keyframes, right click, do our keyframe assistant, easy ease. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab these guys here and we are going to just click down here on this guy with this first one, which is easy ease. And now you can see it brings in our curves. So the way that this is working, if we watch this, right? So it's coming down. So this is where it would be really accelerating. It would hit, pop back up fast, slow down at the top, pop back down, slow down at the top, da-da-da. So with easy ease, here's what we're looking like. We're boom, boom. Okay, still pretty goofy. All right, that's fine though. And I'm going to bring my, now that we're only about 3 seconds long, let me just bring this up here a little. Now what we want to do though, these points where it hits, so I'm just going to click off of here. Now if we grab this, now on these hit points, we want to go ahead and grab our handles and make it a sharper little point. So it accelerates in and it accelerates out fairly fast. All right, so I'm just bending those two down. This one is fine as it is for now. Let's just do our top ones first. Bring it down. Bring it down. Okay, then we'll go here. Same thing. And what you'll see is this is, with the function curves, this is giving us, you can see the height. So you can actually change your keyframe. So what we're doing here, this is the position, Y position. So we're heading down from 0, boom, then back up, down, back up. So you could actually, if you move these, you will move your actual position of your keyframe as well. Okay? And then this last one here, we want to bring that in to that. And actually, it probably won't matter too much because that's the very end. So let's look at what now are in between. So I've got this one. So here maybe I'm going to pull this out so we get a little more acceleration. If you hold down Shift, it'll constrain it to the horizontal movement. Do the same thing here. Get a nice curve going in. Nice curve coming in. Or coming out of that bounce. All right. So we've got this here. That one looks okay. Now these guys are a little, I think they're a little far away now. So I'm going to go ahead and grab them and just scoosh them over a little bit. Okay, and maybe we'll grab this one, just that one, and bring it a little bit there. Okay, so you can see 1, 2, 3. All right, and we could do this here. Grab these, and like I said, we could just scale those in a little. And this last one's a little funky, so we're here, and maybe that needs to come up just a hint. And then back down. So let's take a look at how that's looking. Okay. So now let's look at that. All right. Now, what's going on here? So this guy, it's no longer on the ground. Sometimes what happens, if I zoom in on this so that we can get to the frames. So what happened is I nudged that guy down below our 900 pixel point. So that's where we were. So if I go in here and say, okay, I'm going to turn on my snapping, now I can take this one, snap it up, and you can see that line happen to show it's right on. Same with this one. Snap it up so it makes sense. Now you also want to make sure you snap to a keyframe. So this one, I want to keep that even and nice. I'm going to snap that over. And then we can get our keyframe happening there. And then a nice ease into that. Okay, so down here, we're not on a keyframe. So I'm going to snap it over, make sure we're good. Use my space bar to get my hand tool up. See how these are looking. Okay, looking fine. This one's not on a keyframe. Okay. Oh yeah, it is. Okay, I just had to zoom in one more time. There we go, that's cool. So that's nice, rolling down. And we're on a keyframe, we're up. And then we're coming in from our beginning. So now that should be a little better. Preview it. All right, so 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's good for now. We can play with that a little more as we get moving, but let's throw in some squash and stretch. So I'm going to zoom in, hit my thing here. So 1, 2. So I think these guys can come down a little more. So I'm going to grab it. And oops. Let's nudge this over. I'm just holding down Shift so I can get it a little closer. And then I'll just take this one and move him over a little bit. Now that might be a little nicer. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we've got another one of the crazy, not quite on there. So I want to make sure that all my keyframes are on the keyframe. Oops. Just grab that one. You can see it got nudged off. All right, and this one too. And that's what stinks about doing that when you use that sort of adjustment that way to scale them in. All right, and now this guy should be a little shorter and maybe a little narrower. Okay. Actually, I'm going to bring in one more. So then we can center up that middle one. Let me undo that. Let's bring this one over one. And then bring this one over one. Round that out a little bit. And that'll be our last little jump. See if that seems too much. That's a little too quick. All right, so let me zoom out a little bit and let's see what I did. So that one is just too much. So maybe just take these two and let's move them over. Oops. So what we can do here, let's zoom in and let's take that guy back over there and bring this one back to the middle. Okay, we can bring this in, this in. Just try and get a smooth. Smooth little bump. All right. So we've got that bouncing in 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And then what we can do, let's add some squash and stretch. So if we go up here, we've got our soccer ball. Now we want to add our scale. So I'm going to go ahead and hold Shift and hit S for scale so it stays with our position. And that way we might need to adjust. We will actually have to adjust a few of these as we're moving because we're going to add a few more keyframes in here for our squash and stretch. So I'm going to go back to my keyframes and let's just look where we're at here. Okay. And with that, let's think, all right, we've got it coming in and the first hit is right here. So what I want to do is make sure that that stretch is happening there. So first off, I'm going to go to the beginning and we're going to hit our scale and come forward to this keyframe. And I'm going to go ahead and think about my stretch. So for this one, since we're at 100%, we're going to, on our Y, we're elongating it. So let's go 140. All right, and I forgot to say unlink those two. So we'll do 140, and then we want to, since we went 40% up in the height, we want to bring it down 40% in the width. So that'd be 60. So 60 by 140. Now you can see we've got our stretch hitting. And then what I'm going to do is copy that keyframe because I'm going to use it in a second. And then I'm going to go forward one frame and just go ahead and now bring that to a squash. So that's our stretch. So I want to reverse these. So basically I can just go 140, tab 60. All right, I've got that. Now we've got our squash. Because remember, you want to keep your volume. So if I go one direction, 40, then I want to go the other, take 40 off the other side. So now here's where we have to adjust our position because we've squashed it, so our point's gone up. So then on our Y position, we can just bring it down to 901, right? So now we know to type that in, 901, cool. And then we can go forward one more frame, and now we want to stretch it back out. So we can just go ahead and copy and paste our keyframe. Oops. Make sure scale selected and paste. All right, and so that's heading up. And then we just go forward to the next frame and we make sure that is at 100, 100 for our scale. Because it'll always even back up at the beginning, achieve its regular shape again. All right, so then we want to go forward, same thing, hits the ground. This time it's a little less of a stretch, right? Because it hasn't gone as far up. So we're going to say, let's do 120. So we want to do 80. And then we'll do 120 in the height. Okay. Let's see how that difference looks. So there we were 140 and 60. Here we're at 80 and 120. So again, we'll do the same thing. Move forward one keyframe, swap them. So we've got 120 tab 80. All right. Then we just have to move that position keyframe down. So now we bring it down to 891. Or I'm sorry, what was it? 901. All right. And then we can go forward. And if we want, we can copy this keyframe, Control C, Control V. So now we've got that, and we just need our position back here on the ground so that it will have that stretch happening. So we've got that. We'll go forward. Again, this needs to go back to 100%. And then we'll go back to this next one. This will be hardly any stretch. So maybe 105. Well, so that'd be 95. Tab 105. So 5% stretch and squash. So then we'll move in. Again, bring our position down to 901. And reverse these. So 105. And 95. All right, so we got that. So we got a little bit of stretch and the squash. One more frame. So we've got that impact. And we'll just grab this keyframe on the scale. Grab that, just that one. And then copy and paste one frame forward. So again, we've got that. And then we just know. You guys know it by now. 901. Okay, so that's moving forward. Then we are up here, return to, okay, we are not on a keyframe here, so we got that nudged. So we could probably go to that one. That looks good. And now we'll just add our another scale keyframe of 100, 100. And at this point, it's not enough velocity to stretch this one out, so we can just let it do its thing. All right. Now let's see how that's looking. All right, let me see this one. All right. So maybe that first one's a little crazy. So maybe I'll go in here and let's change this one. So we'll say here, instead of 140 and 60, let's do 135 and 65. Again, I'm going to have to adjust my position keyframe. Oh, no, I won't because it's already there, 901. So 135, 65. Let's do 65 tab 135. And then the same thing here. $135. Oops, nope. Sorry. 65 tab 135. All right, and then we'll just bring that position down to our old friend 901. All right, let's see if that was maybe a little too much squash and stretch, but let's see how this looks. Oh, what did I do here? Messed up. Boom. Oh, I didn't reverse my things. There we go. Sorry. There we go. There's our squash. Let's see what we got. All right, and maybe what we'll do is let me grab all these and just scoosh them forward a little bit. Same thing here, just tighten it up. Again, we want that acceleration to happen a little bit here. Okay. All right, so that's looking pretty good. One last quick thing we could do is just take all of our scale keyframes and we could throw on ease on those as well. So we could just go in here, do our old keyframe assistant, easy ease or F9. And now let's see, watch that guy. All right, that's better. My land is still a little jumpy. Bump, bump. So what do we got? Doom, doom, doom. So maybe I'll give this, spread this one out just a little bit. See if that works. Or maybe it's just the height. Maybe it's just a little too high. So let me bring that Y position down a little. So it's even nicer. So it's barely a little hop. Okay. Oops. And bring these two in. Cancel that. All right. Now let's get a look. So we're here. Maybe that one's a little high too. So I'm going to just bring that Y position down just a hair. Okay. Again, this is a lot of fine tuning, getting the look you want. You might want more of that squash and stretch. You might want less. I'm going to zoom in here and just look at these last couple. See what is going on with those. Oops. So here we're moving along. Doom. Stretching, squashing, there. So we're 1, 2, 3. So maybe take this one here. Okay, and let's just one last look at our curves. Go back to our position. Zoom it out. All right, so you can see now that we've got some extra little bits in here now. You know, and that's with our little moves here. So it's 1. So we can maybe take that, try and smooth it out a little. Now, again, we need to make sure we're on a keyframe. So here, again, maybe it's just bringing that a little higher and bring this one in a little bit. So we get that. And then maybe bringing these in just a bit. So maybe that'll tighten that up. A little bit more here. And then these guys are a little zany. That's where our squash, and it's staying on the ground. So we're going that little bit of move. We might be able to just straighten those out. All right, let's see how that looks. All right, that's looking pretty good. So again, just going in, tweaking those, figuring out what's going on where, cleaning up some of these guys so that happen. We can adjust those and straighten them out. But they're not that crazy. They're not that bad. So again, just grabbing that. Oops, undo that. Just grab the one. And we can go ahead and straighten all those out. So yeah, that is that. I could sit here and mess around with these forever. I'm not going to. So just hopefully that helps. It's another little tutorial just to talk about these curves, and again, all these things we use over and over again. The easy ease. Oh, we didn't let's put on a little motion blur. So if we take that soccer ball, turn on motion blur here, right? If you don't see it, make sure you hit switches and modes. And then we make sure you turn it on here. And now if I zoom back out and we play this guy with a little motion blur, hopefully that'll give us a little more excitement there. Okay, so that is a little ball bounce. Hope that helped out. And I will see you guys on Thursday. Thursday. All right.